Let's move on to a very pressing issue, Syria. Bleeding, it's a human tragedy in tremendous dimensions, and also a battleground for so many other forces than the Syrians, the regional big powers, Russia and the US to some extent. Now the peace talks are supposed to start next week on the 25th. What are the prospects for this?
The prospects for achieving an agreement that brings an end to the war in Syria.
No, for the peace talks starting.
That's what I was going to say. I think that if the peace talks manage to go ahead, if they can find something that is beyond just nice expressions to come up with at the end, if they can see some kind of a political path ahead, which is, persuasive to a significant number of actors in this war theatre, then I think that will be an achievement. What I worry about is that those who are on the ground and who are really, carrying out the actions that create the conditions you were just talking about, that if they feel that the talks are just merest blah, then that's what the talks will be. That doesn't mean to say that the effort to hold the talks is a waste of time. I think that diplomacy often includes this of sort of, diplomats get, I think the reason why diplomats are very often very calm types is because they bang their heads against so many brick walls so much that a calm reaction is the only one they're capable of anymore. And I say that knowing
we have a few diplomats in the room here.
There's a number of ambassadors in the room. And
yes.
No, but I think, a lot of diplomacy is at the time thankless, and one journalist or another can write a very good article with a headline which shows that something terrible is happening because this government or that government is talking to an absolutely unacceptable group or government, and this is a scandal. The truth is that you will only get a settlement in Syria if there is agreement by those who are now fighting, and you will not get agreement unless they sit at a table. This is the lesson that had to be learned, the British learned about the IRA. We had to shift away from the language that said it is absolutely impossible to have any communication with these people whatsoever. You have to grasp the nettle at some point of talking. First of all, in the case of Syria, you tried to have peace talks without Assad. Right? I mean, that's crazy. What are you doing? You can have talks, you can have an interesting discussion, but you can't have a peace negotiation without having the other players there. Those who are doing something in the area, for good or bad, have got to be involved. Now, whether it is possible, as some are hoping, that there could be a genuine anti-ISIS coalition created out of this, or what the results would be of a genuine anti-ISIS coalition. I mean, I think that has... I am concerned that this has still not been thought through properly as to what the meaning of such a coalition would be.
And the fact that the Saudis have now broken their diplomatic relations with Iran at this important moment will affect the climate.
Yeah, yes, it is bound to. They're supporting opposing sides in the conflict. They have been from the beginning. Both of them need to be engaged. But there are different ways to be engaged in negotiations. When I say they need to be at the table, I'm speaking loosely. There are also informal and back-channel ways of being engaged in a peace process or peace negotiation that mean that the lack of a formal relationship between the two countries isn't necessarily fatal.
Trying to read between the lines of what you were saying about having a solution without or peace talks without talking to Assad, does it mean that you think that the West got too deeply involved with the Syrian opposition, or miscalculated, or the forces on the ground?
No, I don't think they got too deeply involved, and I'm sure that the Syrian opposition would say they didn't get deeply involved enough. But I think that there was something there where there started to be a quite simplified view that saw Assad as essentially being another Ben Ali or another Mubarak, that he would go. that if there was enough pressure, then he would go. And if he didn't go, then that was his fault, so you just needed to increase the pressure. And didn't understand that Assad was different. Assad and the ruling system in Syria was differently rooted in Syria than Mubarak's government was in Egypt, and Tunisia again was a quite different situation. So it was kind of a tide of optimism. We're on a roll here. One's gone, two gone. Gaddafi, number 4 at Syria. Oh, it didn't work there. Well, it didn't work because Syria was a very different, or is a very different kind of country from the other 3.